Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to WPPM 106.5 FM, Philly Cam Community Radio. For our TV viewers, thank you for watching us on Xfinity 66 and 966. Also, Verizon Fios 29 and 30. And also, shout out to all who are watching us on Philly Cam Facebook. I am Jay, but you probably knew that already. And thank you for watching Hear Us Out. We got a very special edition of Hear Us Out. We are celebrating People Power Media Fest, which celebrates the legacy and the future of community media in Philadelphia. Today's show, we're going to be focusing on how self care just isn't enough. And Philly Cam is currently exploring the idea as a community media, as community care, excuse me, as a media communities. Hang out with us as we discuss video games, grief support group, and what real change are needed to be made in the city of Philadelphia. I would like to introduce our two special guests. I knew these guys for a long time, and they also been members of Philly Cam for a long time. Please welcome Jaquan and Noah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello,
It's
what's
nice
up?
to be
Hello.
here.
What's up? What's up, man? Been a long time. We all been on camera together.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Discussing video
yes,
games,
yes.
anything, to be honest.
Facts, facts. Well, like, let's not wait too long. Let's hop right on into the show.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
first we're going to be discussing video game and the mental health of video games. And well, first off, I would like to throw this to Jaquan to really set us up real quick. So, Jaquan, hit us with the first question. What you got for us?
So, question I wanted to ask for the community, our community, every community, how have video games improve your mental health or your life, your social skills, anything of that nature? Of course, I'll answer too. Anyone want
Oh,
to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Well, for me, it just helped me more of like the storytelling aspect of video games, like appreciate it way more than I initially appreciated then. Like like back when we was younger, we would just hop on Halo, play Call of Duty, don't think nothing of it, don't think of like the message or the story behind it. And yeah, around that time frame of 2012 when we just had a laundry list of really good video games that came out that year, and one in particular, The Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
yeah, that game really just opened my eyes to more like storytelling in the video game space, and I really appreciate that more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say for me personally, I learned a lot of different things, but two that really stick out to me. The first is that as someone that gets very, if it's not working out right here, right now, I don't want to do it anymore. Video games taught me that, if you work at something hard enough and long enough, you'll gain enough talent and skill to like fighting games, for example. You're not no one's ever going to be like just great at it as soon as they hop on. You're not going to be able to take on pro players. But if you hop on, you do
Yeah.
the diligent work in whatever form and manner that you're best learning, whether it be online or whatever the case, after a while you'll develop skill and you'll advance.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, another lesson I learned goes along with that is that you're not going to be the best. You're not going to be the best over time. You're not going to be the best at that time. And that's not to say don't strive to be the best, but it's more so don't get caught up in the strife of it, trying to go tit for tat with someone.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be like, I'm not the best at this game. I'm gonna pour my entire life into this game. No, learn how to have fun with the things that you do and do it for fun purposes, not for
I agree. I agree. Someone who's played professionally for video games, it's come to a point where like I don't know where I'll be without video games. It's taught me so much. It taught me a lot about managing my social life. It taught me about managing money actually because I used to work for this this team for pro professionals on Halo, and that's why I'm good at Halo. I don't think I am that good, but I just also shut up, shut up. I just also think it's like with my mental health, talking to people around the world in Japan and UK and Canada and hearing their stories while I'm playing. Like I don't really remember. like the last time I sat down and played a video game just for like me and the video game, it's just mostly just to hang out with my friends from all around the world. And I think that's really important to like you can play these games and talk about your feelings to some stranger like from across the country that doesn't deal with your problems. Like they can't even go outside without being garbed up and like thrown in jail. You're talking about like, man, my mom, she's annoying me. Like, oh really? My mom's in jail for taking her hat off outside. And it's just like it really opened like it opens like a big door for like community that I feel like no one else has. And it's just like kind of
Well,
hard to share
well,
without
speaking of that,
being in the community.
well, speaking of that community, I know like in recent years, like this is just another question I want to ask real quick. I know like in recent years, like video games have been diving more into like mental health issues in the video game space, and I was just like wondering like what you guys take on video games, like diving more into like the mental illness side of our current world today. Like you see it pop up a lot more in video games now.
Yeah. One thing I could say about video games is very inclusive. They target pretty much everybody. There's something for everybody. You just really have to look. Like Undertale, my God. Undertale literally tackles like every social problem that I've ever came across, and it's just like really like, oh my God, this game covers sexuality, it covers grief, it covers like acceptance, like really being yourself, and what are you willing to like fight for to get to like what you want, like what are you willing to do?
Um, I would say the question that I always ask is that, does video games affect mental health in a negative way? Yes, but I don't think it's how we think of it normally. So like we think of it normally as, does Call of Duty make you a violent person? But I don't think so. I think violent people tend to play violent games. It's not like, some soft guy that doesn't want to hurt a fly picks up Call of Duty and all of a sudden he just wants to shoot up his entire class. I don't think that's how that works. I think
Yeah,
people that have certain niches, they go towards those things. So it's not that video games make people violent. Violent people play certain violent video games. But
yeah,
I would say, what exactly? I think we should sit down and talk about what problems do we actually have with video games, because I don't disagree that video games do start problems. I'm just interested in like a longer conversation later on what exactly that might be.
yeah, I feel like it's just the media trying to like tear us down because we're making so much money. They try to put this in the media all the time saying video games are bad and tell parents to stay away, or grown men can't play video games, and girls are now getting into video games like they've been into video games. What are you talking about? But yeah, yeah, another topic for another day.
Yeah, like we can go on and on about that. But well, I don't want to keep our guests waiting. We do have a special guest with us today. Her name is Tanya Amir, and she's going to be talking about her community care in her own community. But first off, I would just like to say, for our people who are just tuning in, thank you guys for watching, and guys can check us out on WPPM 106.5 Philly Can Radio. And for our people who are watching at home on TV, thank you guys for watching. Remember to check us out on Verizon Files 29 and 30. And also check us out on Xfinity 66 and 966.
Yep.
And Jaquan, I know well, we all know her personally, but I know you have an even
Yeah.
more closer relationship with this
Yeah.
person. So I would like for you to take the range on this one.
All right. I would like to welcome Tanya El Amir. She is a creator of Beauty for Ashes, a Bible-based community teaching children about etiquette. She has many titles, including Miss Philadelphia. But as a widow, she thought she can help our community by starting her own grief support group called Love, Life, Healing, and Hope. Welcome to Tanya Miller, everybody. Hey, hey, mom.
Hi. Hello, son.
Welcome, welcome. So we have some I have some questions here for you, and I wanted to know how are you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very proud of you guys, all three of my babies.
Thank you. All right, so first question. So tell us about your career and your background.
Okay, well, you talk about it with the grief support group.
No, just in general, your career, your background, how you grow up. Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, I grew up here in West Philadelphia. Yes, I'm West Philadelphia, born and raised. Yes, all of that. I got three kids, and yes, I am a widow. I have a background that I'm a graduate. I have a bachelor's degree in human resources. I work for the city of Philadelphia by day, but at night I love doing beauty pageants. I love modeling, and I just love serving the Lord. And I was blessed to be able to start two ministries.
That's great. That's great. So tell us about Love, Life, Healing, and Hope Grief Support Group.
Well, Love Life Here in the Hope came out of when I lost my husband 2.5 years ago.
Mm,
Um, it tore me apart. So what the Lord allowed me to do was to take all of that hurt, all of the anger, all of my pain, and just share it outwardly by inviting others to hear my story and listen to theirs, especially now during this pandemic when so many people have lost a loved one. And in that, just me sharing with other people in passing, and they're sharing their stories about their experience with grief and loss and their experience in mourning. We ended up becoming what I like to call a village.
mm.
And this village became the grief support group. So I started it on Facebook so everybody could feel safe and to be anonymous. But it grew out of Facebook and ended up people started finding my phone number, and my phone number became a hotline, especially for those who felt like they were at the edge. The Lord will use the hotline to help to allow me to speak to them and basically talk them off of the edge and speak love, life, healing, and hope to them.
Hmm. So about 2.5 million people die in the United States annually, each leaving an average of five grieving people behind, while some mourn for the loss of their close friends, relative, and other faces lost jobs, pets, relationship. Grief is a complex and painful experience and unique to each individual, but nearly everyone goes through it. So I want to ask you, why is it important that we have groups like this anywhere in Philly, around the world?
Well, I was actually blessed to hold a seminar just this past Saturday
Hmm.
talking about this was just one of the many topics that we talked about. Why is a grief support group important? It's because that you don't have a there isn't a class in grief 101 in high school. So a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know how to either express their grief, they don't know how to mourn in order to heal properly, because there's a lot of misconceptions with grief, especially in our community. Unfortunately, we hear a lot of stories of men don't cry, boys
Yeah.
suck it up. Men don't cry, boys don't cry. So suck it up and sit down somewhere. And we don't know how to really express how we're feeling, especially when we have to go and express grief.
Yeah.
Repressed grief, unexpressed grief, held back mourning will end up coming a multitude of negative emotions such as anger, frustration, depression, suicide. So we have to be able to freely express our grief, freely mourn when we have a loss, whether it's the loss of a pet, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's the loss of your job, whether it's the loss of a marriage, any type of loss that we're dealing with, we have to be able to freely express that. And in a grief support group, when you are surrounded with others who are going through the same grief journey, the same grief process as you are, it makes you feel safe, it makes you feel accepted, and it's easier to go through the journey, especially when you don't feel like you're alone.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And from your experiences, dealing with these people, do you feel like you really are helping them? Like, do you feel like you're making a difference?
Well, the number one thing I have learned in that is the more, especially when the Lord opens doors to have avenues like this, the
Mm,
more I am allowed to share my own experience, because in this I'm a talker. the more I'm able to express how I feel, and then it
Yeah.
connects with somebody else, then
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I'm making a difference. As a matter of fact, there was a few phone calls where I actually really believed that I helped in saving a life, helping
Incredible.
someone who felt like they had no hope, or talking to someone who felt like they were alone. If I felt like over the phone, I was able to grab their hand and let them know that they're not alone, that there is hope, that there is another side to this, there is an out, there is healing, there is victory. And so with that person, I was like, you know what, I may have made a difference and helped them to take another step forward towards healing. And now they feel like they can make it and they won't choose suicide.
Mm. And where can we learn more about this? Like, how can
Um,
we find you?
well, Love, Life, Healing, Hope is a Facebook group. And the reason
Mhm.
it's a Facebook group, and it's a faith-based Facebook group. So for those who are looking for a faith-based group,
Mhm.
I started there because when I was looking for my own help, I saw 3 groups on Facebook for grief support. 3. So I said, well, I guess I better start my own. And so
Mm.
it's on Facebook. You can find Love, Life, Healing, and Hope, and you can join the group. And on the page, there's a lot of information and resources, words of encouragement, songs of encouragement, just posts that will help and lift you up. And when you're feeling down, you could read over those and even share your own story and share your own poem, any outlet that you feel like that could be a blessing to you or to someone else. You go in the group, you join it, and you are part of our village.
Mm.
Um, but if you need to talk to someone, you could Google my number, Google Love, Life, Healing, and Hope. You'll find the number and you could reach out there. I don't usually share that number because, again, it's a hotline. Again, this is anonymous. So if you find it, call it, and I'll be glad to speak with you. And the group will be glad to embrace you.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you again for coming on. It was great having you here. Thank you for sharing your grief support group and everything you've done in the community for the past decade.
Well, praise God for you. And good job, guys. I'm so proud of you. Y'all doing great.
Thank you, Miss Tanya.
No problem.
All right, Noah. So, what you got? What you got? I heard you got something for us. What you got?
Yeah, I have a video for you guys. But what brought this video about is, I'm also a Christian, and one of the most important teachings that Jesus has is focused on the heart of things. It's not focused on like what you say nor what you do, but your intentions and your motives behind the things what you say and what you do.
Mm.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that in terms of the community, because I look around and I don't think that building new playgrounds or taking tax money, what was it, the soda tax? I don't think the soda tax or all these things is going to stop people from shooting one another on the street. That hasn't happened in the past. It hasn't happened in the past 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. It's not going to change anything. So the question I have for both the viewers and ourselves is, what effectuates that actual change? What effectuates permanent change? So yeah. Every walk of life goes through tragedy, misfortune, adversity, and sorrow. We Philadelphians can attest to that. There is no doubt we need something new. Not hopeless speeches from our mendacious city officials, but real permanent progress, so that simple court time, like what you see, can stay just that. Why is it that our communities are filled with immorality and debauchery? Is it our love of violence? So convinced that we are invincible by idolatrous and foolish cultural achievements, like, I got 2 twin Glocks. My mom ain't seen her brother in over 27 years. He had like 10 bodies. Thoroughbred, everybody in my family been in the cell. I ain't never lost a fight. The idiocy of those medals, mixed with the arrogance it produces, leads to the sometimes random, careless acts of shootings, stabbings, kidnappings, and bombings around the city. Drugs are normalized while the effect it has on the families is dismissed and the sellers are glorified. Children have no respect for authority. Parents take the side of their children over right and wrong. Women degrade themselves. Men are emasculated. In the face of this and much more, what is really going to make a change? Is it money, resources, the parents, the culture? What is going to effectuate real change in Philadelphia?
Okay. What did you mean by that? The masculinity and how women are disagreeing themselves.
What was it? Uh, Degrading themselves. You said
Yeah.
disgrading themselves. You threw me off.
I'm sorry, my bad. That was my fault. But yeah,
But
what did you mean about that? Can you elaborate on that?
so for women degrading themselves, it's more so like in order to solve the issue between men and women about equality, I feel like women have degraded themselves because they've taken on the toxic culture, they've taken on the toxic traits of men. So you say you want to be equal to men, but you spend 80, 90, 100 hours a week at work, and you don't have any time for your family. You don't have any time for your parents, your husband, your children. So it's like, why would you take on the toxic trait of men? Then we say being with multiple partners, men being, what's that word? Like promiscuous. Then we say men are promiscuous and then women do it. So it's like, what is the point of degrading yourself by saying these traits in men are bad and then taking on those traits yourself and glorifying them? It doesn't make sense. And then men are emasculated because, they take the smallest thing. You stepped on my shoe and now you're going to go and kill someone. That's you dealing with your emotions in a way that's not helpful at all. That's you completely feeding into your anger. That's not logical. That's not rational. And that's not to say, again, we get back to the other part of what I was talking about earlier, is that men are also, they are toxic, but I don't think it's toxic to the degree to how we talk about it. But they're toxic in the sense that, like Miss Tanya said, we're not allowed to talk about our feelings and things of that nature, and we hold those things inside.
Yeah.
And so it's like all these different things going on with the men in our community, the women in our community. They grow up and they become the adults. The adults don't know what they're doing, and that feeds to the children. It's a continual thing. Money is not going to fix that, in my opinion. New schools are not going to fix that, in my opinion. Going to college is not going to fix that. Getting a million dollar a minute job is not going to fix that. All these things that we are talking about, it's not. I'm not dissing the effects that they could potentially have, but it's like, what's the good if you have all of this, but you're missing the internal part of what actually makes you a good person, what progresses you in life. If you're missing that, then there's no point in having all these other things.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest and what change that we need for the city of Philadelphia and for us to progress forward as humans, not to stay with these toxic traits, how to move past these things. What's your suggestion? I'm asking.
Well, me personally, what changed my mind completely was the Bible for sure. So when I saw the difference between how we think about things, people think about things in a million different ways. We look at things from psychology, we look at things from anecdotal perspectives, we look at things from all these different perspectives. But that's just human at the end of the day. It's not infallible. God's word is. And after reading that and seeing the difference between how he looks at things and how we look at things, that's how I come up with questions like this. Like what is really going to change? Because it's not money. It's not our politicians. It's not any of these things. What's going to actually change our community? It has to be the people themselves. They have to change. Their values have to change. Their wants in life have to change. That's it.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like we're really greedy, and I feel like community is probably the best thing we need. I can't tell you how many times a girl or a young lady, a grown woman would ask me about what men talk about. I know, I feel like we fed into the stereotype talking about video games, but that's just something I am passionate about. But we talk about our feelings, we dive deep into a lot of conversation. It's a lot of hypotheticals. There's a lot of we talk about women, we talk about men. It's the same thing that women talking about, but it's just to a level we're in heated debates, and then it's just very casual conversations. I feel like I'm not saying all women, of course. I just feel like a lot of women, like, they would bring up a really hot topic and they would never speak to each other again because someone has different views. And I feel like, from my personal experience, my friends have all different perspective, and I try to respect their perspective. We can talk days, hours about it. They try to
Right.
change my mind. We try to change their mind. It's a back and forth, but that's critical thinking. That's critical debate. That's critical. Like, I'm critiquing you. Like, hey, I think your breath stinks. Go brush your teeth. You say that to a girl? Some girls would be like, oh, thank you for looking out for me. And some girls will slap you or say you're disrespecting them, and it's like, whoa, hold on. I didn't say all that. So I think
Well,
community, like workshops, and there's like something stuff like Beauty for Ashes can like shape everyone to thinking like
well,
diverse. Like, think about different things. Like, the world doesn't revolve around you, and I feel like we're really greedy when it comes to, like, we're trying to get what I want. I'm trying to be rich. I'm not trying to make everyone else rich. Like,
speaking of the community part thing that we wind down to our show, um, I want to talk about change in our community and talk about like certain resources and programs that can definitely help somebody that you might know in need. For same thing with our viewers as well. So I would like to talk about one resource and one program that I think our viewers would like to be interested in. The People Fridge on 52nd, located at 511 South 52nd Street. You can also follow them on Instagram at the Fridge on 52nd. I'm gonna give you a little bio about them. Their vision is to provide community members with fresh food and essentials as free resource. They believe that food is a human right and should never be a privilege, but it is. This community fridge is a mutual aid, meaning that community members have equal responsibility filling, maintaining, and caring for their loved ones and one another.
Black Men Hill, very interesting. Find them at blackmenhill.org. They were founded in 2018 by Tasnim Suleiman. The nonprofit aims to remove the stigma attached to mental health care for men of color, connect providers with clients, and eliminate the cost of quality therapy. Black Men Hill provides 8 free in-person therapy sessions to men of color. They've provided about 600 free therapy sessions to date and aim to do more.
and I would like to talk about Mutual Aid Philly. It is an entirely volunteer-run community powered by groups that provides direct aid to neighbor in South Philly. In Center City, English, Spanish, and Mandarin. The group was created to provide support and resources to COVID-19 and prioritize outreach to groups and most affected by health and economic impacts of the pandemic. We are primarily focused on disabled, sorry, excuse me, disabled and chronically ill, undocumented people of color, LGBTQ, and low-income individuals and families.
Hey, it looks like our time is just about up, guys. Thank you for listening and watching us on WPPM LP 106.5. And definitely check us out on Philly Can TV and Facebook Live. Be sure to check out our other events on our, excuse me, make sure you check out our other events and workshops that we have going on this month for the PPM Fest.
Mm.
And definitely check us out on ppmfest.org. And in the spirit of community care, we want to leave a little tidbit with y'all. Um, this is our little tip: check in regularly. In many culture, it is the norm to open a conversation, even um, open up conversation, and even instead with how you are. It is a question asked quickly and automatically, often without waiting for an answer.
Instead of asking people how they're doing, clearly state that you're checking in with them. Noah.
I can't find my part.
And well, it's okay.
Got
No,
lost.
I got you, bro.
Thank you.
And one way to do this by saying, hi, I want to check in with you. How are you feeling? So those are definitely tidbits that you want to use to check in on your loved ones, close friends, relatives, and all that good stuff. Yes,
Yep.
guys, thank you for watching us today on Hear Us Out. I'm Jay.
I'm Jaquan. Check me out on Twitch at Green.
Hear us out. 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 Hear us out.